So let me go. Okay. Let me just make sure it's streaming on Facebook and then we'll go. All right, got it. Awesome. All right, so good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining this webinar this morning, this education webinar. We're going to be talking about boarding schools in Switzerland and opportunities for children for summer camps as well, and exploring, education in Switzerland. When Mark started talking about this, we realized that when a lot of people think about Switzerland, they don't necessarily think about schools, right? We're thinking about chocolate, we're thinking about, touring, skiing, and all of that. So it's good to bring this conversation to our audience, tens of thousands of LagosMums followers who are always looking at top choices for schools for their children in Europe. So my name is Yeti Williams, and I'm the founder and CEO of LagosMums. I'm a parenting coach, and I'm very, very passionate about raising our children to be global citizens. Being global citizens means that you can be educated from anywhere in the world, get the skills that you need to be ready for the future that keeps changing faster than we can even imagine. So with that, we're going to have a conversation this morning. Thank you, Mark, for always bringing an amazing group of speakers together to educate our audience. In addition to answering questions, telling us what the opportunities are, and of course, we'll hear from everybody who's on the panel today. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Mark Brooks. We're going to take Q&A as well towards the end. So anybody who's here who has questions, feel free to ask questions. And if we don't get to your questions, be sure that we will get back to you somehow, for sure. So if you have any questions, type it in the chat room. We'll be checking Facebook as well so that we can make sure we answer everybody's queries about schools in Switzerland. All right, Mark, welcome.
Well, thanks very much for that fantastic introduction, Yeti, and it's great to be with you virtually today, and I look forward to catching up physically soon when I get back from Lagos next week. It's great to be here today and meet families interested in boarding schools in Switzerland. And I've been advising families on boarding schools from Nigeria for 14 years, and it's great to be back again advising on boarding schools. As you say, when we think about Switzerland, our mind goes to chocolate, the Alps, cheese, fondues, lakes, ski resorts, or more intellectually, CERN laboratories or key industries such as banking and finance. But this stunningly beautiful nation, I don't know whether people online have visited it, but certainly if you look at online pictures, it's stunning. It's known for its world-class prestigious boarding schools. And you may have heard many who are coming online today or coming to Lagos next week. And this event is online to prepare people for thinking about coming to the boarding school exhibition at the Wheat Baker in Ikoyi next week. That's Wednesday the 16th, and you can meet them personally. And it's in the afternoon and also in the evening as well. We have a free evening reception from 6 o'clock till 8 o'clock in the Wheat Baker as well. Coming back to education, Swiss boarding schools are the cradle of the International Baccalaureate, and I know that's increasingly popular among families in Nigeria because of the all-round education that it offers. But also schools offer the A-level programs as well, which I'm more familiar with, and we're going to hear from some schools today who offer the A-levels as well. But more importantly, I guess, what's different about Switzerland is the fantastic setting, clean air, and opportunities for holistic education that allows each child to develop their talents and allows them to enter the best universities in the world, and also do a bit of skiing in the winter and outdoor pursuits as well. And finally, it's a safe and secure environment. The schools taking part next week are Aiglon College, Brilliant Mount, Beausoleil, Le Mans, Institute of Rosenberg, who's online today, JFK, John F. Kennedy online again today, and Gran International School and Tassis as well. So we look forward to hearing more about these schools today. And we'll hand over to Christophe, who's the Director of Swiss Learning, who's responsible for looking after these schools and bringing them to Lagos next week.
Thank you very much, Yeti and Mark, for introducing. I think you're the best ambassadors for Swiss schools, and it's great to have British people talking about Swiss schools and about our country. That's just fantastic. And yeah, if you're talking about being a global citizen, I think Switzerland is the place to come and to study. As you know, in Switzerland, we do not have raw material. The only raw material that we have are our brains. So we are born to always innovate, to redefine education, because if we don't have a strong education system, we cannot be competitive without being like this in the center of Europe without raw material. And I think that's why for the past, I think 15 years, we are the most competitive and innovative country in the world. So I think in this constant changing world, it's important to mention that. Being a global citizen means also speak different languages, and with 4 national languages, Switzerland is the country of multilingual education. Speaking different languages means also understand other culture, to have strong social and emotional skills. And I think you can get this in Switzerland. So you will come and study English, but you will also learn the national local language, French, German, Italian, or Romansh. Another aspect, being a global citizen means understand different nationalities. And in Switzerland, we have more than 130 nationalities represented in our schools, and most of the schools have quota. So they don't accept more than 10% from one nationality. So this is really important to mention. We want the kids to come with their own roots, with their own background, and bring their stone to the school. So this cultural diversity and international environment is also something unique. In terms of developing the talent and talking about innovation, I think those 2 aspects can be mentioned by the 2 directors that are here with me, because for us it's very important that we develop the talent and that the schools are innovative in terms of their after school activities and in their program also. So maybe I give after the floor to Bernard and Henry to talk about that. And then the last but not least is the community. 95% of our children are sons and daughters of entrepreneurs. So they will take over family business. So for us, it's very important that they feel being part of a community, and also the importance of understand what it takes to be a leader in a community. So we have a lot of outdoor activities. Mark, we were talking about mountains, and we have mountains, we have lake, we have a fantastic country. We try to bring the kids into activities where the center is the community and being a leader of a community. And of course, the alumni network with 130 nationalities. When you finish high school in Switzerland, you have friends all over the world, and those friends are really your best friends. And I'm really happy to go back to Nigeria next week, because I'll meet students that were with me in boarding school in Switzerland. So those are a few aspects about Swiss education, but I think the best people to talk about what we have to offer are the 2 directors that are here with me.
Sure. Thank you very much, Christoph, for the introduction. Mark, Yeti, I think thank you for this really, really good opener with regards to education today. And I think, Yeti, you said something at the beginning. We are living in a very dynamic, fast-moving world. It's the age of disruption in so many ways when it comes to politics, economics, the way societies are constantly evolving. And what we ask ourselves at the Institute Aftem Rosenberg in Switzerland, which is, very much this Swiss tradition of continuous innovation, is exactly this: what will the world of tomorrow look like? And what do we have to do today already to make sure that we give these children, young adults that are entrusted in our hands for their education today the right skill sets to succeed tomorrow. And we don't have a crystal ball, unfortunately, so we cannot predict what the future will look like. But we have this privilege that we are working closely with our parents, who are most of them highly successful entrepreneurs. So they will go and feed back to us, and they will tell us where they think the world is moving in their areas of operations. And then we also collaborate closely with many industry partners such as Boston Dynamics or ABB, as well as leading universities such as ETH in Zurich, which is also the University of Albert Einstein, and who continue to make strides when it comes to technologies in the areas of robotics, drones, and so on and so forth. So those people are really an amazing community that we can reach out to, and we enter dialogues and we ask them, what do you think the world will look like? Our conclusion is this: I think to equip students successfully for the future, we need to make sure we get away from an exam-based culture. So unfortunately, still today in most traditional schools, the exam spec is actually the curriculum. So we're asking young adults to spend 12 years in education, but all they learn is how to successfully complete exams. Now, we live in the world we live in, and we still need good grades and good external exam grades, which is something we continue to produce at Rosenberg. We're very proud of our students' achievement, but at the same time, I think everybody's looking a little bit into the future, has understood that this cannot be considered quality education on its own. So we must add a lot more to this. Here at the Institute of Rosenberg, we achieve it by developing our own curriculum. The Rosenberg International Curriculum, and we make sure that this is relevant and up to date, and that what our students learn always has a real life context. That is just very important, so they understand how will they go and apply the knowledge that they acquire. You could take a great example from teaching physics to students as young as in grades 4 and 5, and we will approach this by, for example, giving them challenges, say to build a bridge or to build a crane. And we will go with the problem first. So we engage them and we get them interested into the nature, into the topic, into a challenge. At the same time, we teach things like creativity, collaboration skills, innovative skills. How can they transfer knowledge from one area to another area? And then only at the very end, we will actually tell them about formula, about the calculations that is behind them. So we very much take a very hands-on approach. We want our students to be first interested in a topic, then we want them to immerse in the topic, to really study something they like, and we only focus in the second part on the exam preparation. So we are separating the two, and happy to say that this has a direct impact on not only engagement of the students, but also on their pure academic success, because they actually understand what they're talking about. And so just to sum up, this is what the world now needs to do when it comes to education. We need to quickly adjust because we risk losing an entire generation, teaching them 20th century skills, whereas we have well arrived in the 21st century. So educators out there, we need to get our roller skates on, because what's taught in most schools around the world, regrettably, is no longer relevant.
That's really interesting, Bernard. Thanks for sharing that. And I know you've got a lot of experience as a school. You were founded in 1889, I believe. So you've been very successful in all these years on the principles that you hold. And I think the depth that you're talking about, that you're able to give the foundations in the students, is fantastic. They have a breadth of education and the depth of education which is unparalleled. I guess the question I'm asked all the time, and you'll be asked next week, is how that prepares students for universities, because I know universities are looking for well-rounded students who have a lot to offer and a lot of experience and have interests. How does that, what's the response from universities, and what kind of universities do students progress to beyond your school?
Yeah, thank you for this question, Mark. This is something that is very inherent to the work that we do, because we, as I mentioned, we like to look into the future. So we've actually pioneered a system that is called Individual Development Plan, the Rosenberg IDP. And so we treat every single student as an individual. We look at their aspirations for university or for their career. And then we start working backwards, very much also in partnership with the parents, to see what are the requirements they need to reach to enter the university of their choice successfully. And then we look at prerequisites, what type of course combinations would they need to have. And then we're privileged because we offer the international baccalaureate, we offer the American high school system with advanced placement APs, as well as the British A-levels. And depending on a student's profile, depending on their aspiration, for university, both in terms of what type of degree they want to apply for and the location they want to study in. We work backwards and we come up with this individual plan. Now, this helps us to really ensure that the students are very well-rounded, that they have an understanding of the subject matters they want to study at university. But what is really, really important to me from an educational point of view, we also want our students to understand what they possibly don't like doing. And I think too often in traditional schools, students apply for a degree course. That is something that happens often in the UK, also because students attend universities very young. And then 1 or 2 semesters into the game, they say, wait a minute, that's not my passion at all. So what we do at Rosenberg, we have a talent enrichment program. So we have over 60 different courses that we run in parallel to the regular academic curriculum. This includes anything from Python coding to fashion design, robotics engineering, social media, journalism. And our students can immerse in these courses. We often offer them with industry experts. And that allows them to get exposed to the world today that is outside of the school gates, but they have this experience already now. And it wouldn't be untypical for somebody, to come after 6 months and say, I always wanted to be a game designer, but having spent developing my own games, I realized this is not my passion. So I had this vision for myself, but now I'm going to adjust that. I might go into a completely different area. And this is the interesting part of our work, is really that we then have a look at this Rosenberg IDP plan and see what adjustments we need to make. And usually if we have enough time, we can adjust that to make sure that this learning journey can go into a completely different direction. But the key is to expose students early to what the world looks like and to all kind of jobs we might not even be aware of that have sprung up in the past decade or so that are out there. I think it's really important to have this experience so they can make an informed decision.
That's interesting. I think to summarize your points, it's 3 Ps really. Firstly, you understand the passion of the students and really what drives them and what direction they're heading in. Then you prepare them for university and preparation and everything else. And then you help them to kind of pursue their dreams and pursue their goals rather than just be kind of identikit student to every other student in the school. Kind of personalized learning is a very important aspect of what you do. So that's
absolutely brilliant. Absolutely.
The final question I've got before we kind of go on to the next speaker and come back for general questions is, I know Swiss boarding schools are very famous for summer programs as well, and summer programs are a very good way of experiencing Swiss education programs for the first time and making use of the facilities you have in the summer. And I know you have an academic focus. It's not just all about riding mountain bikes. It's about part of their preparation and understanding their passion for university and beyond as well. So tell me about the summer program at Rosenberg.
Yeah, with pleasure, Mark. Thank you very much. And I think you got the point exactly right. So our summer camps are really a window in this unique learning environment that is Rosenberg. And we give students a chance to join us in summer for either 2, 3, or 4 weeks. And they can experience a Swiss boarding school that is truly unique. And the courses that I mentioned earlier as part of our talent enrichment program, a lot of that we actually offer in summer. So while we combine all the beautiful opportunities that Switzerland provides in summer, being outdoors, being on the mountain bike, going hiking, or just exploring the key cities and sightseeing. What we do in the morning is we focus on different activities, and our summer campers will be able to choose from anything from fashion design to creative technologies. We have robotics experts here on hand, and they can go and build something they've always dreamed of building. You know, they might come in and say, I always wanted to build a drone that is able to pick something up. And this is something they can explore here during the summer. It's a very diverse environment, similar to how Rosenberg is during the year, 55 different nationalities, small class sizes to make sure the students really get that personal and individual attention that our parents value so much. So it is just a great way, first of all, to experience the environment, but also to anyone considering Swiss boarding school, but they're new to the topic, that they would be able to come and get a taster for this unique world that we're so privileged to be part of.
Good. And if parents are interested in the taster, contact Yeti on at LagosMums, or come to the exhibition next week and have a talk to Bernard personally, get some brochures and find out how that works and the dates for your diary. So perhaps I can hand it back to Christophe, who's going to introduce Henry from JFK School.
Yeah, first, I have to say that among the directors, we have a very strong relation, and the schools are working together to have the best schools and the most innovative schools in the world. And I know Bernard, and many years, same as Henry. Henry came to Switzerland. I was not even born, so he's a very old old friend. And now he's managing a great school in the resort of Gstaad in the Swiss Alps. A fantastic school that goes until the end of the middle school. So maybe Henry, I give you the floor.
Yeah, thank you also, Mark and Yeti, for the opportunity. I mean, I think it's great for parents to have a little introduction before they come next week to the meeting, where they can meet and go a little bit maybe more in detail on the different schools. But interesting enough is that we have like a little bit the two extremes here. We have a school that works with the youngest ages, and Bernard, even though he takes also young ages, are mostly, or the majority are older students preparing for the university. We prepare our students to continue into another school, and this allows the students to start with a smaller structure, where we are a very small school with 100 students, and classes also small size classes, and very much of a family atmosphere for them to start boarding. So the idea of the school is to stay small so we can be very close to them and have a very personalized attention. And having this small structure allows the students to feel a little bit more like at home, and be taken care of, making sure that a 6-year-old is brushing his teeth, etc. So we take students from 6-year-old up to 14 years old. So they finish the middle school, and then they are ready to continue into the other Swiss boarding schools. I would say 90% of our students continue in another Swiss boarding school, but we also have students that go back to the UK or back to their home country. We have around 25 nationalities in this small school, which makes it also very diverse, and allows the students to live also, again, all these experiences with many different cultures, religions, habits, etc. Which it is what I was myself a boarding student in Switzerland with Christophe and with Bernard, and we all experienced this boarding life, which maybe some people have the idea as a punishment, or send somebody into a boarding school because it's a troubled child. It is really important to know that it is an opportunity now for children to come to a Swiss boarding school, and it is a great experience for them to live this internationality and to be able to, let's say, become independent and create this network that Christophe was talking about for their future. So it is the other side of the education. We prepare kids also through a lot of outdoor learning. We're in an incredible environment, but we're in a ski resort, like Christophe mentioned, and this allows us, of course, to do a lot of skiing, a lot of outdoors during the summer, a lot of hikes. We also have a summer program, which again, it's a little bit the opposite of what we were talking about, the academic side, because we work with young age. We think that it's more on the outdoors that they'll be learning rather than sitting them in a classroom. At that age, of course, later on, they could go a little bit into more the academic side, but because we work with young age, they are all day in activities. It's all by themes. We have a water week where they'll do all kinds of water activities. Then we have a mountain week, which is all kind of hiking and camping outside. And then the third week is rock week, which is all rock climbing. It's all outdoors. They leave at 9 in the morning. They come back at 4 in the afternoon. They make a fire and they roast the sausages at midday. So it is really a nice outdoor experience for them. And it's attached to a learning experience. So when they go rock climbing, they learn about how the rocks, why some are green, some are red, some are black. And when they go to a river, they find out what the animals live in the river or something. So there is also an outdoor learning program attached to our camp. And it's a really nice experience for them. Young children from 6 to 14. So that makes it easier to deal with again in small groups, because we only have 40 children in the whole summer that make 1, 2, or 3 weeks. Generally, we have a lot of first campers. That means that the first time. And again, it's a little bit the open window to have a little tester trial period, that how a boarding setting is, how do you share in a room, how do you live with others. It is really a nice experience for them to try to get to know the school for a future, and to then eventually join an academic year or any kind of setting that they would like to see, either in the future or right away.
Myself, thanks very much, Henry. That's fantastic. And I think just to explain, there is a tradition of boarding in Nigeria, because families move around a lot. They're involved in government or businesses and work long hours and work very hard. And so boarding school is popular in Nigeria at a very young age. So that's one point. The second point is, I guess, if families are thinking of sending their child who's younger to a boarding school, the advantage that you offer is a small size and a group of children who are the same age, rather than join a huge school where they might get lost, where your pastoral care is very strong, I should imagine. The question I get asked all the time from a Nigerian families, probably the number one question, is about communication between the school and parents. How does that work? I'm sure it works formally, but informally as well. So how do you keep the parents in touch with their business?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the key points, of course. For us, if the child is happy, the parents will be happy. And generally, if they call home, crying and this and that, it becomes very complicated to deal for the parents, because they're far away. They cannot control what's happening or not happening. So for us, of course, communication is very important. And I think for all the schools in general, boarding schools have we have a direct communication with all the house parents, for example, on the boarding, for the pastoral care side, with all the teachers for the educational side. So parents contact directly each of the teachers. So you talk to the math teacher and find out how math is going. We talk to the house mother and find out what's happening, and the girl is. Communication has made it easier for children because they can call home very easily and have a chat with the parents. So that makes it easier for the distance. But sometimes it makes it also very complicated, because they call for anything. And I would say, I have a headache, or I have this, and these are things that we, of course, can address, and we are used to it and to manage. And of course, all the schools are equipped with doctors or nurses that take care of all the health issues. But of course, parents are worried from far away, not knowing how to deal with that. And then, but that's the idea. If they can call directly a house parent and say, my daughter is saying she has a headache, what's wrong? And the house parent can give all the information. So communication is essential. Like you say, formal, it's everybody gets the emails, the reports, a weekly newsletter. But then the informal part is what we can establish a relationship with a small structure, which is that famous little boarding house with the little family atmosphere, that we can always call the house parents and find out what's happening.
I guess what is more common is the children having such a great time, they forget to contact their parents and say, I haven't heard from my son or daughter for the last 10 days. Are they how are they getting on? And said, well,
exactly,
it's getting on brilliantly, and rest assured they're in safe hands and everything. So can I ask another question, which is pertinent to the conversation today? You're in West Africa a few months ago, and you're coming back again next week. Have you had West African families join your school? and what's been the reason for them joining? What's been their driver? What have they been telling you that they've been attracted about your school and Switzerland in general?
Bernard, maybe you can.
Yeah.
Sure, with pleasure. Yes, we have families from West Africa, and we also did so in the past. So it's actually quite exciting to see that this legacy goes on. I think the families are not different from the families that we have from all over the world. So they would typically choose our school, first of all, for the quality of the care, for the trust they have, because we do appreciate it's a big step for any family to choose the correct school. And I think our reputation and the recommendations that families make to each other are very, very helpful in this respect. Ultimately, I believe what families are after is to make sure that their children can maximize their full potential, so that their talents are identified, that the talents are nurtured, and that all of this happens in a caring environment where, on the one hand, their children are challenged, but at the same time, they're carefully guided and supported, may that be on an academic side, but also anything else, type of project work that they're involved in, so that they really, once they graduate from school, we like to use this example of, the modern Renaissance person, that they have a 360-degree understanding of how the world works. And they don't always have to, or not all of them have to become robotics engineers, a program designer, but they should understand what the power of this type of technology means for the future. And so while we offer a lot of things, we want to make sure, and I think this is an intrinsic motivation for our parents, that their children are exposed to many things and they can have this beautiful educational environment to enjoy. And, to be honest, very often I think parents choose the school first, not because necessarily they're only looking for a boarding school, but I speak to many parents that say, we weren't even considering a boarding school, but we were looking for the best schools in the world. We came across you. We love your philosophy. We like what you're doing. And this mission and values that you have resonates with us so strongly, which is why we've decided to send our children to your school. And so I think this is what the parents have in common. This is also what we see from families in your region of the world.
That's fantastic. So you have a modern vision and preparing children for the 21st century and helping them to fulfill their potential, which is fantastic.
If I may say, Mark, we don't have a modern vision. We have the Swiss vision. This is how our country, that's why Switzerland is, as I said at the beginning, that's why Switzerland is so innovative and so competitive. It's because we need always to redefine education, to make sure that we innovate, that the kids are ready for this constant changing world. And everything we produce in Switzerland, watches or even look at chocolate. We don't produce cacao, but we have the best chocolate in the world. Look at the watches. Everything is with a lot of added value. Any product that we produce is with a lot of added value. Sorry for interrupting.
No, that's really.
I would like to just to add. Sorry, it's very short. Is also Switzerland's neutrality and Switzerland's safety. I would say it's famous, and the fact that we are in a very safe environment, that kids can walk around freely and everything. I think it is a big advantage here, and a lot of people take this as I would say something that makes them feel much better to live in a safe and I would say a healthy environment. I think it is important for many families also. So Swiss schools are also chosen for that, and the vision that neutrality gives to Switzerland. It gives also the base of how to work with this international environment.
So the safe and secure environment is very important. And I think the entrepreneurial spirit that Christophe was referring to in Switzerland is very important among Nigerian families as well. And Nigerian families and the country has an entrepreneurial spirit too. Can I just ask a final question, just a closing question for me to Bernard? What are you looking forward to most about coming to Nigeria next week?
So I actually have to disappoint you, Mark, because I won't be able to come to Nigeria myself. I've been longing to visit for a long time. I just spoke this morning to a former student of ours in Nigeria. But we will have representation for Institut from Rosenberg by Manuel, who is the head of our relationship management, close friend of mine, and also former student of Rosenberg. So I think it is his first trip to Nigeria. He's very, very excited. I'm very jealous. But sometimes we have to split work like this. I am very much looking forward to learn more about Nigeria, and I hope through our relationship, but also through Manuel's travel, when he comes back and tells the team here at Rosenberg what his impressions are, I think we'll be able to understand more, which goes exactly in line with what I said earlier. I think for all of us, regardless of the age that we're in, we must continue to expose ourselves to new things, to continue to learn, to see what can we learn from Nigeria. So we spoke a lot about the Swiss entrepreneurial spirit, but leading an international education environment, I know we also must ask what can we learn from students from Nigeria, because ultimately I think it's a collaboration such as this that makes it worthwhile. I know for one, because of my Nigerian students, that the food is absolutely outstanding. We had a few community weekends, and they volunteered to cook for the entire school community. So you have a team of students, and you have others, from different nationalities supporting their friends. And I have to say, this is the one thing I'll miss most about being unable to come to Nigeria in myself next week, is your absolutely outstanding food.
Fantastic, good answer. And the jollof rice is famous all around the world. Henry, can I ask the same question to you as well? I assume what are you looking forward to most?
Being the director of a small school, where you end up doing a little bit from driving to directing the school, it is hard for me to leave, but I really wanted to leave personally, and I will be personally next week in Nigeria, because again, it's a little bit like Bernard said, I want to learn from Nigeria. I want to learn how what they're looking and what they're looking for, and what kind of new I would say things can we learn from Nigeria. I am also, of course, a fan of traveling and learning from other cultures. I'm a fan of eating also good food. So I've also heard about the good food. And for me, it was important to be personally there. And I know that Bernard would have liked to go. But of course, sometimes we are obliged to, because of the direction of a school is not every day easy job. We cannot always move, but I am taking the time, especially for Nigeria, and I think it was really important for me to be able to do it.
Thanks, Henry. That's brilliant. And just a point for me, I think what I've learned from Nigeria, if I ask myself the question, firstly, education is the #1 priority for families. And secondly, the children are incredibly hardworking and talented at the sports, music, drama, dance, creativity, but get on well with everybody, and a real benefit, and bring a kind of collegiate spirit to the school that they join, and they fulfill leadership potential. I was talking to a school just this week where they had 2 Nigerians just recently who became head girl at their girls' school. And that's typical of Nigerians. They end up being head boy, head girl, prefects, because they show such leadership potential. And it's that kind of drive and determination of Nigerian families for education, and to push their children to be the best that they can be, as Bernard was explaining, that I've learned a lot from Nigeria. So we look forward to next week. Just as a reminder, we're going to be at the Wheat Baker Hotel in Ikoyi next Wednesday, the 16th, in the afternoon from 2 till 6, the reception at 6 o'clock, and it's free for everybody, and there's going to be a number of schools there, and we look forward to meeting you personally. Back to Yeti.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much for everyone for sharing all that great insight. I do have 2 questions that I'm going to rope into one, and you can answer. Whoever wants to take a stab at it can go ahead. The first one is from a parent who says that, or is making a point, that it's very important for them to know about the children's tests and how they're doing in school, and not wait until the end of term to find out how their children are doing. So if you can speak to that quickly in terms of how much information and how aware parents are about how their children are performing in school. And then I'm going to loop that into the second question as well from the same person, who points out that quite a few foreign boarding schools, the head of schools come to Nigeria with a lot of great ideas about the school, but that somehow the rest of the team is not really aware of that. And that when their children then get into those schools, they find out that there might be a gap between what they are promised at the fairs versus what the child is experiencing when the child gets to the school. So if you could handle those two questions, that would be great.
With pleasure. So in regards to how will parents find out about the results, this is actually an important aspect of our work. I agree that parents and students themselves shouldn't find out at the end of a semester or at the end of a school year that something didn't go well. That's way too late. So if anything, we're guilty of over communicating, and we would rather, flag when we have a concern early to maybe propose a change in a program, or to see if we can support the student in any way. Running an international school, we appreciate that curriculums are differently aligned all around the world. So, a student may be struggling with a specific topic does not mean they're not, an excellent student in that particular area. So our rule is basically let everybody know early, let's discuss solutions. We never ever want to confront parents and or students with a situation where there are no more options left. So that's one thing. With regards to promises, I couldn't agree more. I think in any relationship, there is basically one thing you should never do, that is to raise expectations that you cannot fulfill. But I think particularly in the world of education, which is all about trust and reputation, it is just so critical that something that is advertised or something that is spoken about actually happens on the ground. I, for myself, with my team, we have this pledge where we say we always want to be authentic. And, I think this is an important part. The parents we speak to, they're intelligent people, and they will either sense or quickly find out if they if they visit the traditional schools and they made promises about future education, which simply cannot be kept. So it's not about a marketing slogan, it's about a mission, and this mission needs to be implemented on the ground.
Yes, I would like to add that we also generally at most of our schools, because you're doing really a very important decision, where to send your child with the education. Most of our schools recommend always a visit. We would like sometimes to meet the parents, but mostly that the parents to see the schools and to see where they're sending. So there's no surprises, and I think that we are all committed to sell what we have, and that to show it, of course, if possible. And there's always, I would say, room for questions or doubts, and to make sure that the decision they're taking, which is a very important decision, of sending their most valuable, I would say, kids to a school, that they are taking the right decision and to a right place.
All right, fantastic. Thank you for answering that really well. And I wanted to just share one, I guess, funny comment as we start to wrap up. Bernard was mentioning a lot about, first of all, interesting the child in the topic and then immersing them in the topic. And, I'm very aware that when I pick the children from school, I don't just say, how was school? Because they give you one answer, fine, you haven't learned anything, right? So particularly yesterday, I picked my children from school and I asked my son, I'm like, oh, what was your favorite subject in school today? And he said, history. I was like, really? History? Why? He's like, because we can actually build the castle, the Dover Castle, using Minecraft. And it was really interesting that because of that singular ability to use technology, something he enjoys, and intersect that with history, which he hasn't ever spoken about so highly, it was quite insightful for me that children really need, like you mentioned, that ability to immerse themselves in the learning. Yeah.
I think that it's important for everybody to understand that there's a evolution in education, and that education has evolved from what Bernard was calling exam situation into a personal development and personal investigation. Students need to learn how to look for the information, how to look for the motivation, and this is what we all work on, is on their personal goals and their personal motivations. And of course, talented, sometimes hidden talent, is because we have some children that suddenly discover that they're good in playing piano and that they never ever touched the piano. So all these talents that we can bring out for them it's great. And this is, of course, our goal is to use all these talent and make them feel much more comfortable than themselves because they're good at something, and that is something that's very important for a child.
Right. Fantastic. So thank you again for coming. This is something we like to do regularly. I really believe that when we have more information, we're more educated, we make the best choices for our children and our families because we know. So with that said, we're going to be inviting everybody to come in person to meet you at the fair, which is happening on Wednesday, 16th of November at Mark's second home, the Wheatbaker Hotel. And for all the information to sign up, you can visit our website, LagosMums, visit us on Instagram at LagosMums, or email me. I've dropped my email details in the chat room. And I'm hoping, more and more parents come and meet you one-on-one and ask you the easy questions, the hard questions, and everything in between so that they can make the best informed choices for their family.
Yep.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. I love this short and sharp, value-packed sessions. Does anybody want to share any final words as we wrap up? And everybody who joined today or didn't join, this video is going to be available for replay, because sometimes we need to replay, pause, really stare at Christophe's face when he's saying something, right?
I just look forward to meet you all and to meet the parents that are interested in Swiss schools next week, and just come over and have a chat. It doesn't have to be formal, or it can be formal, but it's always nice to have people around it and be able to talk about the Swiss schools.
Fantastic, thank you. Christophe, are you going to be there?
Me? Yeah, because when I left Nigeria last time, I received a book, being a Nigerian. So I want to go through this book when I'm moving around Nigeria to make sure that what they put in the book is right. Exactly. And then I'm looking forward also to go back to Nikkei Art Gallery also during my free time. It's going to be fun.
Awesome, awesome. And Bernard, I know you mentioned people from your team will be there, from your school, not yourself.
Absolutely. And as I mentioned before, I think it is great that we open this dialogue across all borders internationally. I think at the foundation of anything that has an impact around this world, we need to exchange ideas. We need to enter a dialogue. So I know everyone's excited to meet parents, to meet families in Nigeria, and likewise for them to meet educators, to enter that dialogue and see what we can create and explore together.
Fantastic, awesome. And Mark?
Yeah, well, as you say, Lagos is my second home, and I always get very excited when I get in the queue to get to the airport and take off. It's like surrounded by Nigerians, and I always meet a Nigerian I know on the plane before I get even to land in Lagos, which is great. And look forward to welcoming some new visitors and old visitors to Lagos and introducing them to what makes it such a special place for me and my colleagues.
All right. Thank you, Mark. And thank you, everybody who joined. As we said, LagosMums is a community for parents. And we talk about everything focused on raising our children to be the best individuals they can be on a global scale. So thank you, everybody, for joining. And until next time, take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.